This whole thing about healing revivalists takes so much personal responsibility. We sit and we think, if I have a gift on my life, then God is going to flip the switch one day and everything's just going to work. I'm going to walk in power. I'm going to be pure. It's going to be easy to worship and connect with God. It'll be easier to read my Bible because the switch was flipped. That's just what happens when you flip the switch. I'm a full-time pastor. Full-time pastor. And every single day of my life, I have to take responsibility for my passion. Every single day of my life, I have to take responsibility for my purity. Every single day of my life, I have to take responsibility for my marriage and the way I raise my kids and the way I pastor a church and the things that my eyes look at and the things that come out of my mouth and my attitude towards everything during the day. I have to take personal responsibility for it. I want to break the lie that says that there's going to be a day that the switch is flipped and everything's just going to work for you. Okay?
Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
That's a lie. You are going to have to do some things for yourself. Can I tell you a truth? You are the only one in control of you. We use words like possessed and all this other stuff, and that is amazing. God possessing you. But there is personal responsibility on your end of it that you have got to take if you want to see that happen. You've got to take personal responsibility for you. You've got to take personal responsibility for your purity. God's calling this generation to walk in purity that hurts the eyes. That when students at your school see the purity you walk in, it's just like there's this light on your life that they can't even look at because it's so bright. And what is it about that person that I can't even focus when I look at them? It's like my eyes burn because you carry this purity that challenges them to the core of who they are. And there's this little voice that's screaming out inside of them saying, "You're called to that." Yeah. Your generation is called to bring a purity that this world is hungry for. In what they put their eyes on, in what they spend their time doing in the closet, when no one else is looking, when no one else is on your computer with you, when no one else is on the phone with you. We've got to start taking responsibility. I just can't help it, it just happens. Really? Dang. See, I wouldn't be saying this to you if I hadn't been there already. I can't stand it when people preach things that they've never walked through. You know what I mean? I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I've only been saved 8 years. My wife now lived across the street from me, invited me to church. I was the neighborhood drug dealer punk. You wouldn't know by looking at me. I was messed up, did a lot of bad things to a lot of good people, hurt people, did a lot of mean things. The friends I ran with, we didn't care about life. We didn't care about other people's lives. We didn't care about our lives. We hurt a lot, like physically hurt people. I hurt my family. I hurt everyone around me. I hated life. Completely hated life. You talk about purity, I was on the other end of the scale. Completely impure in what I put in my body. Drugs, I did them. You can go down the list. Although I did steroids even. I'm huge now. I know you're like, why would he do steroids? He's massive. I know, thanks. Seriously. I had steroids. I was bigger than I am right now. I was actually kind of swollen and mean and shaved my head and always looked for a fight and didn't like people. Someone was nice to me, I would be mean right to their face on purpose so I could make them feel as small as I possibly could. My family, my friends, people that cared about me, I would spit right in their face and tell them how much I didn't care about them. My mom and I would tell each other daily that we hated each other's guts. Hate your guts. That was my life. As far as purity goes, there was no purity in my life. Anything that could be pure, I was completely stomping on and throwing in the mud. And God got a hold of my life. And on a fire bus, I was on a firefighting bus. I was a firefighter. I don't know how I got the job. My friend hooked me up with this guy that was a crew chief and got me a job firefighting. All it did was give me more money to spend on more bad things. And I was just filling myself with bad things. And I went on this fire, and I filled myself so much with, I had done a ton of bad stuff right before I went on this fire. And I was hungover and coming down and just bad, ugly stuff on this fire bus, and I felt like dying. And all my friends that I was around, you know, even though I was mean to everybody, all my friends that I was around, we all pretended like life was great. Yeah, man, it's so cool. And I was inside my shell, just bleeding, waiting to die. And I'm on this firefighting bus, and the fire's getting over. It's towards the end of the fire. We're getting ready to come home. We're coming down this like four-wheel drive Jeep trail, and we're in this huge school bus on a four-wheel drive Jeep trail. And it's crazy, thin little trail, but the tire would fall off the side of the trail every once in a while. And it was this hill that was, when you look down, you see these little cars on the highway way down there at this dam where this lake was. And I was thinking inside, I hope this thing goes down that hill. I was actually kind of excited about it. This is going to be over soon. And I was listening to the Slipknot song. And the Slipknot song is called Wait and Bleed. And I'm sitting there listening to this Slipknot song. Slipknot's this heavy metal band. It's all, they wear like these leather, like sewn together masks on their face. It looks like Hannibal Lecter, you know, the nasty stuff. One guy's got these like pin teeth looking mask thing on his face. And they're all nasty and have blood splattered on their shirts. And I'm listening to this song, and it talks about this guy. And he says, I felt the air rise up in me, kneeled down and cleared the stone of leaves. I walk around where you can see, but inside my shell I wait and bleed. And I was listening to this song over and over, and I was just feeling myself, and I felt so empowered by this song because I was right in that place. I was right in that place, and it was just feeding me. And God shows up on this fire bus. And this song that I'm listening to, because no one that was around me knew it. Everyone knew I was, you know, wanting to be the tough guy. And all my friends, we all thought, life's great. We can just take things from people. We do whatever we want. We're above the law. We would get in trouble, in and out of jail, but we just didn't care. We thought, they can't touch us. They're not doing anything to us. We sit there for a little while. We get back out. We do the same thing. Had tons of money coming through my hands because I was selling it. I was selling a lot of bad stuff. And so, but no one really knew, even my closest friends didn't really know that I was inside my shell bleeding, just wanting to die. Every day I thought about suicide. Every day of my life. And then I'd go to family gatherings and I'd put on a nice shirt and I'd smile to my grandparents. And they thought, Scotty's doing great. My grandparents call me Scotty. You're not allowed to call me Scotty. I'm sitting on this fire bus. And I see this picture. I used to wear this black hoodie all the time, like a black hooded sweatshirt. And that's how I felt, you know, and I'd always have the hood up. And I saw this picture of me in my black hoodie while I'm listening to this song. And I had cut my wrists. And the sleeves were down on this thing. And the sleeves were just getting soaking wet with my blood. And I was just walking by people, and people were walking by me waving like nothing was wrong. And I was just waiting to collapse on the ground. That was the picture of my life. And it was feeding me. I was like, yeah, that's great. And it just felt great. And God shows up on this fire bus, and all of a sudden this whole song changes, and I see this picture of me falling down on my knees like the guy talks about in the song, and all this black air started to leave the inside of me. I hadn't talked to God. I hated God. I thought he was a mean guy that sat up on a big throne and punished people, and I didn't want to have anything to do with him. And I fall down on my knees, and I see all this black air leave the inside of me, and immediately I felt this weird freedom feeling come into my life, and it just messed me up. And I asked a question right there on this fire bus, God, where have you been all my life? And we're coming down this trail, and time went by so fast because we're down at the bottom of the mountain. We're driving along this like creek bed, river looking thing. And on the side of the creek bed, I look out the window, and there's like these raccoon or possum prints, animal prints going down the side of this creek, and there's two sets of them, and one of them goes off either into the creek or into the bushes. One of them disappears. And immediately that Bible verse popped in, or not Bible verse, that poem popped in my head about the guy that's walking down the beach, and he looks back at the footprints, and the hardest times in his life, there's only one set of footprints, and he says, God, why did you leave me in my hard times? And God said, that was when I was carrying you. And that comes in my mind, and immediately I start crying, just crying my eyes out on this bus. I was like, firefighters, don't cry. I hadn't cried. Now, just to let you know how significant that was, I hadn't cried in years. It had been years. Emotionally numb, emotionally dead. I wouldn't go to my family's funeral when they died, like people in my family died. I wouldn't even go. Didn't even care, just emotionally numb. Had no feelings about anything. Actually enjoyed pain, just numb. I'm sitting there crying, and I'm thinking, you've finally gone crazy. You've officially gone over the edge, Scott.